Recently on INFOWARS, we had a chance to do a story on gun confiscation dealing with the Veterans Administration. And George Hemminger was able to actually talk with the VA doctor and get the details on the situation. George, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, no problem, Gigi. Thank you for having me on.
So let's just jump right in. Right now, the topic of the Veterans Administration is really hot. What was that interview like?
Well, I mean, I kind of happened upon this after we interviewed the U.S. Navy vet that had a forced psychiatric evaluation, a wellness check. They confiscated his permits and took his guns and had forced hospitalization. Actually, people within the VA system started contacting me, and one guy I did respond back to was a VA doctor out of Florida. And we ended up doing an hour-long interview in detail of how the VA administration is progressing a nationwide gun confiscation program that's been ongoing for years. And the good thing about the video is that it really goes into detail from a doctor's perspective, what they have to do to go ahead and take the guns from the veterans. And I think it was so scary at the time that a lot of people ignored it. So hopefully it'll see the light of day and more people will be able to see exactly what's going on internally with the VA hospital system.
Now, George, where can we find it? I realize that it's not on George for Title anymore, your YouTube site, but what can people do to find it?
Yeah, this information was really hot to handle. I initially did the interviews with another gal that I ran a website with, and she took it down. He actually wanted to retract the video because he was afraid that they were going to come after him. There were some issues with some voice modulation with the video. But if you type into Google VA doctor gun confiscation, the video will come up and you'll be able to watch it.
And basically, for those that don't know, we did an article here at Infowars.com covering this, where there was actual kickback for the VA doctors who are taking guns from the veterans willingly or unwillingly. And I really wanted to talk a little bit about that, George. When you spoke to him, he mentioned that basically they were going to take those guns whether the person was going to allow it or not. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how they did it?
Yeah, he gave me some intimate details of how they are, how basically they make their money at the VA system, and a lot of it is incentivized. So there's a whole lot of work on the ground that doctors do that they get incentivized for. It could be anything from helping teach other doctors. And in this case, he mentioned that they were paid $3,000 to take away guns from veterans. So there's actually a financial incentive to go ahead and try to take the guns of veterans that are red flagged on their questionnaire system.
And now there's the funny part. Some of those red flags are, it's not really funny, I suppose, but some of those red flags are if you're a patriot.
Yeah, I went into detail with him, and it's on the video where I asked him, what's going on with these questionnaires that you're doing, and he says when you come in, and we don't want to scare veterans from getting any medical help, but they need to understand, at least from this doctor's perspective, that the questionnaires are getting very, very intimate, very, very detailed. They want to know all your family history. They are doing bipolar screening, depression screening, all types of family work history, anything and everything they are putting down in these questionnaires and these interview systems, and then they will use that against you. If you have anything that is showing any type of mental situation, any type of stress situation, they can go ahead and use that, working with local law enforcement to take away your guns, do a wellness check, and then end up, you might end up in a situation where you're hospitalized against your will.
Well, basically what they're saying now, it seems like, is if you don't answer things the way that they tell you to answer it, whether it's, hey, do you have a weapon? And you answer, well, that's none of your business, then that's automatically yes.
Yeah, you're already red flagged. When you just stand up for your rights or you display your political affiliations and they're not in line with Obama, and that's where I tried to get to the heart of the matter. Where is this all coming from? And he, on his level, was a little bit confused. He believes that the game plan to take away the guns is really going to come from the Department of Health and Human Services, perhaps Homeland Security, but that's really the target of how they're getting the veterans. And right now, there's so many veterans that are on medication, sleep medication. They get benefits for post-traumatic distress disorder, and they also get those benefits. They don't have to be in combat to apply for those benefits. They could be in a car accident, or they could just be having stress or some type of anxiety. So I think the latest statistic was like 40% of our veterans have some type of post-traumatic distress, and they're getting services from the VA. They need to understand, while they're getting those services and benefits, they can use that as pathways to take away their guns.
Well, sure.
And this flies in the face of HIPAA, where we're supposed to have doctor-patient privacy. Who's getting this information, and how are they using it against you? Is that really even, that sounds to me almost against the law.
Well, and the thing with it is they're saying, hey, come on this way. You have PTSD. Here's your prescription. And the thing is, they're making it so easy for them to have the benefits that it's a lure. They just don't realize what they're walking into.
Some of the questions, he actually goes into detail, the exact questions he asks. And questions that he asks are, do you feel the government can watch you? Do you feel the government wants to take your guns? And if you say yes, or you answer with the wrong wordage, they can go ahead and classify you as paranoia. And I said, hey, what happens if you say you watch Alex Jones, or you're against Obama's policy on the wars? And he said that could be interpreted. I mean, it's very, very political. And he says a lot of these VA hospitals are aligned with leftist-leaning liberal institutions, and they're against gun rights in general. So he basically says, from the top down, over the years, things are getting more in a way where they're going after guns any way they can.
Well, it's accelerating under the Obama administration, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm sure Obamacare will be able to, I don't know if this is the first step in gun confiscation with regards to the general populace. At first, they're trying this out using doctors against the veterans, and then all of a sudden, when Obamacare kicks in, they're going to use regular doctors to go after regular civilians. Those are questions we just don't know the answer to.
Well, and I'm trying to get my hands on some paperwork right now, because on the internet it seems that people are visiting doctors now, pediatricians, cardiologists, whatever, and the form, they actually ask from a form, and it asks if you have weapons in your home. Now, what that has to do with your doctor's visit, I guess it's just
it has nothing to do with your doctor. Though that's informational gathering for law enforcement and for other agencies we may not be aware of. I mean, if you are a veteran and you're seeing your doctor and it's for maybe a sleep issue, or maybe you're having depression or something, and they all of a sudden say, hey, you know what, we're calling the VA police, and they come in and they say, we're going to have to get you to surrender your firearms, and you're going to be hospitalized, forced hospitalization for 2 or 3 or 4 days. That can evoke a very stressful response, and they can use that against you. I mean, this is involuntary hospitalization in a psych ward. This is what they do to intimidate you and to basically raise additional red flags, and that's how they go ahead and take your guns.
Now, you also know about the man in Connecticut that had that happen too.
Exactly. Well, just by pure luck, I primarily cover stories here locally in Southern California. I talk about the economic collapse. I talk about families, basically living on the streets, my own personal struggle. But, by being out there on the internet, I have a lot of people that contact me, sometimes faster than maybe they'd be able to contact INFOWARS. And Dave Schmecker was one of those individuals that contacted me. We got him up online, and he basically was forced out of his house. They took his guns out of the gun safe that he had, and they hospitalized him for 4 days. And then he had to deal with the reoccurring problematic issues of dealing with these agencies and trying to get his guns back. Right now, I don't know what happened to Dave, but I believe he was on your show.
Yes, I was going to say, for our viewers, you can go to INFOWARS.com and you'll find the interview. Also, Alex talked to him. And I want to ask you a couple more questions right now regarding gun control, because I hear in California, Jerry Brown has a list of laws that are up on his table.
Yeah, I think California is really in the running as the poster child for gun confiscation and limiting our Second Amendment rights. There's been about 30 pieces of anti-gun legislation that has been passed this year alone. And I think Jerry Brown, our governor, has about 7 pieces of legislation. You can look it up online, but they're anything from banning all semi-autos with a detachable magazine to banning all lead ammo in hunting. So they just, basically, this is a progression in California of trying to take away any gun rights that that you may have. And I've talked with people that own semi-automatic weapons, and they are totally confused.
And
Most
George,
people are just totally confused what's legal and what's illegal.
And George, we're running out of time, so I wanted to quickly, before we disconnect here, apps. Can you tell us about apps real quick in about 10 seconds?
Okay, real quick, apps is a law that passed in California. It's called the Armed Prohibited Person System. Definitely do your research. It creates databases and allows multiple law enforcement agencies to go after individuals that may be a threat that own weapons. In 2011, they seized 1,200 firearms. They seized 155,000 rounds of ammo. And what they are doing, what I've been reading and hearing, is that they go to houses and under threat, under intimidation, get people to voluntarily give up their weapons. And if that doesn't work, then they go ahead, and we see what happened in Citrus Heights, Sacramento with Joe Mendez, where they go and they point an M16 at your head, and they take away your weapons, and they bankrupt you through the court system.
Well, George, this has been great. I look forward to doing this again.
Thank you so much, Gigi. Take care.
All right, you take care. And of course, you can find out more about George Hemminger and his very unique lifestyle at his YouTube channel, George 4 Title. That's George, the number 4, and Title on YouTube. And there you'll also find a little bit more about what's happening at the VA if you type in gun confiscation, Veterans Administration. It's very sad what's happening to our veterans, and we can only hope that things will get right in this country. So stand up for your Second Amendment rights. And you can go to the INFOWARS shop, INFOWARS.com. Show your support for the Second Amendment and get your INFOWARS Second Amendment t-shirt today. Especially the pink gun on the white t-shirt. I am partial to that one. Thank you so much for joining us on the INFOWARS Nightly News. Remember to be back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
The Alex Jones channel is the official page of the InfoWar. But don't miss what's happening on our other channels. The Info Warrior, with the week's best videos. Prison Planet Live, where Paul Joseph Watson gives his expert analysis. And keep up with the rest of the InfoWars crew on our other pages. All of our videos are available to repost for educational purposes. See the sidebar of the Alex Jones channel for the subscription links. And remember, you can always find our videos in the highest quality by becoming a member of PrisonPlanet.tv.